Hello, everyone, and welcome to 180 Degrees of Impact. My name is Matt Scott, and today I'm joined by Jivika Rajani, who is with Aspirate. Jivika, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thanks for having me as part of this project.
Thank you, and I'm happy to have you as part of it to learn from you. And as I was telling you before, I'm really amazed by the fact that for you it is about 5 p.m. in Dubai, and I'm here in Washington, D.C. And through the power of technology, we're connected. So thanks again. Thank you. And I'd love if we could start out. If you introduce yourself to the 180 Degrees of Impact audience and tell them about who you are and what you're working on.
Sure. So as Matt mentioned, my name is Jivika. I'm originally from New Delhi, India, although I spent the majority of my life growing up in going to school in Dubai, which is where I am right now. Um, I graduated from Pomona College in Claremont, which is a very small city close to a large city called Los Angeles. I graduated from there in May of last year. And before graduating, won a fellowship to start my own social impact initiative. And so basically, what I proposed to do was run social innovation and entrepreneurship boot camps for high school students back home in India as well as in Dubai. And so I'm currently working on expanding that fellowship into a full blown social enterprise called Aspirate, which comes from two words, aspire plus innovate. And so that's what we're working on. And we just ran our pilot program for about 50 kids in December in Dubai. And there's a lot of exciting directions that we're going to be heading in over the next few months.
I guess the natural place to start is by asking, where did the idea behind Aspirate come from, and why did you decide to go with that for a social enterprise?
Sure. So I think so. What I'm really trying to do with the at least the signature program, as we're calling it right now, the Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship Bootcamp, it's really the program that I wish I had when I was in high school growing up in Dubai. I actually giving back to and doing community service and just giving back to those who were less fortunate than I was always just been a huge part of my life. And when I was in high school, I started a number of projects that with the aim of giving back, but in creative, not necessarily traditional ways. And I didn't really have, now that I think of it, I didn't really have, so I'll just give you an example because I see your head moving and obviously it's not as clear as I think it is in mine. But so I started a photography competition to raise money for charities. I was inspired by the fact that there was a lot of students bringing their DSLR cameras to school, and that was really the first wave of DSLRs. And I was just interested in what these kids were doing with the cameras, and then spoke to a few of them and found that they were really, really passionate about photography, but didn't really have an avenue of showcasing their work or their passion with the rest of the school community. And so I was just like thinking one night and said, okay, what if we were to have a competition where people could pay 5 dirhams, which is like, I don't know, even $2, not even, to submit their photos to the competition, collect a bunch of photos, and then we go around asking people to vote for their favorite one. And so that's exactly what we did. And I think from the just conceptualizing that idea to the start of the competition, it took 5 days, and by the end of the week we started the competition, and it was just a bunch of my friends going around in lunch with Ziploc bags and collecting 1 dirham donations. So it was 1 dirham per vote, which is 25 cents. And so we had 25-cent votes, and a lot of people kept voting, and in a month we had collected more than $1,000. So that to me was astounding because I didn't expect 25 cents to become $1,000. So I started things like that, and it was really empowering and gave me a lot of confidence to just do it and don't be discouraged by the lack of experience, so to say. But now that I think of it, it was really remarkable that I was able to get it done because I honestly had barely any support from people around me. It was just kind of bunch of kids going, just trying to run with this crazy idea, and it worked out. Um, and sometimes for kids at that age to really see that their actions can have an impact, you just need someone, just one person, to say, "Oh, I believe in you. I support you. Here, let me help you out." And so the program that we provide through Aspirate is really showing kids the power that they already have, despite what people say, despite their age, which is often seen as a barrier to actually making a difference. And so we get a lot of really amazing, so kind of like what you do with 180 degrees of impact, we get a lot of really cool young social entrepreneurs, young change makers to Skype in with the kids and share their stories and do interactive Q&As and things that really show them that all it takes is the desire to do, the desire to aspire towards doing something, and then you just got to innovate yourself forward and just use the resources and things that you already have in your network to make a change, because it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I'm really in awe a little bit of you right now, because we just dove right into the interview. And one thing that I am wondering, even just in hearing your story and your explanation, is where this passion for social enterprise came from. Because you mentioned that part of what you're doing is giving people role models, in a sense that they could see what making an impact and making a positive difference looks like. But you also mentioned that that's something that you wish you had. So where does this passion for social enterprise come from in your life and work? And I get it's possibly a difficult question, mostly because that's like a deep psychological.
Oh no, it's a great question. It's a great question, and probably like a year ago, I would not have a good answer for you. But I spent the last year really thinking about this issue because, so throughout my life, I've just had so many different interests and so many different different parts of my life that I love for different reasons. And when I got to college, it was really I chose to go to a liberal arts college straight after out of high school because I just couldn't decide on what I wanted to be when I grew up, so to say. And liberal arts would have given me, 2 years of exploration, and then I would hopefully be in a position to decide. So 2 years came and went, and I was still very confused. I had a lot of academic interests. I had even more extracurricular interests. I loved music. I loved dance, theater. I was studying the environment. I was into startups and getting interested in all things from, biotech to Balinese music. It was a lot, and it was really hard for me to kind of. I had to really sit down and take a look, make a huge list of every single thing that I'd done and really enjoyed and loved doing, and try to identify the common themes within why I actually enjoyed doing what I did. Mm-hmm. And so some of the things that I found was I really enjoy working towards certain projects where I can see the end result and see it in a tangible format. So where whether it's performing, acting, or dancing, or singing, just that whole aspect of putting together a performance from the behind the stage point of view as well. For me, that is a part of it. That's something that's really rewarding, and that translates to my interest in event management, which I did a lot of when I was at university. And so just looking at all these things, it kind of made me realize that what I really enjoyed doing was finding innovative, creative ways of giving back to the people around me and telling inspiring stories. Because I did a lot of informational interviewing when I was in college to try to figure out where I would fit in this wonderful wide world. And it just seemed that the more people I talked to, the more it was okay to not know exactly where I was going. And it's interesting because even coming from India, going to school in Dubai, and then deciding to go to the States for college, going to a liberal arts university, when I said to people I'm going to be doing liberal arts, people said, "Oh, okay, I didn't know you painted," because that's just not something that people know of. because a lot of the times we're limited by the knowledge, the immediate knowledge within our friends or families or small communities. And so when I went to liberal arts college and was studying things like anthropology or statistics, social justice statistics, when I would talk to my friends back home, they just wouldn't understand what I was actually doing. And I was also a little confused because I didn't know exactly how that would translate into a tangible job, which is in a lot of ways what you go to college for, to get prepared to go and get a great job. And so in doing all of these things, I realized, and I actually met, so I was exploring all this time and didn't really know what I wanted to do. And that's when I met a very inspiring person called Dr. Scott Sherman. So Scott Sherman is a very well-respected, renowned social entrepreneur who won the Echoing Green Fellowship when it was first started, I think 2005, but I might be wrong on that. So he started a social enterprise called the Transformative Action Institute, which is all about educating and equipping the next generation of social entrepreneurs and social change makers. And so I was fortunate enough to get to know him quite well and undergo a lot of workshops and retreats and things that he was running. And through that, I really realized that social entrepreneurship was a really great combination of all the things that I was passionate about. It would allow me to be creative and be super resourceful, get down and dirty, build things, see the impact of my actions, and also empower others and mentor students in order to achieve whatever they wanted to achieve. So I just felt that this toolkit, this mindset of being a social entrepreneur and using your unique skills and interests to benefit society was something that I had to engage with. And during my senior year, there was a number of opportunities for me to apply for different fellowships. And so I applied to a number of fellowships that I did not get, but all that time I was really just reflecting on what it is that I really want to do. And the final fellowship that I applied to and I did get, that was probably the best version of my proposal, because at that point I had gone through so many mental iterations of what I really wanted and what I really wanted to put out into the world, that the Aspirate Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship Bootcamp program was kind of born. And so this was February of last year when I won the award finally and knew that, okay, these plans are actually going to happen.
Wow. Yeah, it's so fascinating because you mentioned all of the learning that you did under Scott Sherman and having him really, I'd say, as a mentor, it sounds like, in your work. But the work that you're doing is in Dubai, and I'm really curious, like, what some of those challenges or differences might be going from like one context studying in California to translating what you're learning to a Dubai context.
Right. I don't think it was. I feel like I knew kind of the life here, having been. I've lived here now for more than 17 years, so I kind of knew the local context very well, which is one of the reasons I chose this place to do my pilot in, because I felt comfortable going into the community and knowing what the needs were. And I'm happy to say that obviously, the first week before we launched the program, it was nerves all over. Had no clue if the kids were even going to listen to me and be engaged and all those things. But fears were unfounded, went off without a hitch really, as well as I could have hoped. And so I feel because and we targeted mostly students in international schools, which is I went to an international school here as well. And one of the reasons why is because I really envision Aspirate, so I think social entrepreneurs, to be really effective and make the most effective use of their skills and their resources, they really need to figure out what their strengths are. And so one of my strengths is my intercultural, cross-cultural competency. So I've lived in, a variety of different countries, speak a number of different languages, and I'm comfortable adapting between those different contexts. And so what I really wanted to do with Aspirate is to promote social entrepreneurship and social innovation, not just in one place, but to really, the goal is really to create a global network of students who are exposed to this kind of thinking and who are empowered to create change in their communities, wherever those are. And then once we empower those students, to connect them to actually talk to each other and really, through the power of peer mentoring, really inspire and energize and encourage them to keep dreaming bigger and bigger and bigger, and just building a whole movement. And so coming back to Dubai, it's a very fascinating place because it's a city that is completely multicultural, and we have so many different cultures and races and ethnicities mixing all the time. I really took it for granted, and didn't realize how lucky I was to live in such a place until I came to the US. And obviously there's a lot of international students at Pomona College, but not to the same degree I felt. As we weren't as immersed in a multitude of cultures as I was here in Dubai. And so one of the byproducts of this is that we have a lot of people coming from many different places, and we have a lot of people visiting home countries during the summer. So during the summer, when the school's out, the population visibly drops. Like the number of cars on the road reduces drastically because everyone's going back home. And so I really wanted to target this kind of population that has this high socio-cultural mobility, because that means you're going to be taking whatever they learn, their ideas, back with them to their countries of origin. And hopefully, as a result of that, they can apply some of what they're learning and the different tools that they've gained to identify the problems within those local contexts, and hopefully design solutions that will have, an impact where it is needed.
Yeah, one thing I'm really fascinated by in hearing your explanation of the work that you're doing in Dubai, but just the work you're doing, of course, and your story, is how you mentioned that you discovered your strengths. And I know, just thinking about people who might be watching, especially younger people, including myself, like, what advice do you have for people to actually discover your strengths or discover what you want to do? I know, in just having conversations with college seniors recently, and all at different points, that you could ask them, what do you want to do? And they get really nervous because they have no clue what they want to do, because it's a big question. So
it's a crazy question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a sister. She's applying to colleges right now, waiting for acceptances, but it's such a struggle. Because I remember how nerve-wracking it was when I was doing my applications as well. And I just kind of picked the easy way, said, okay, undeclared, whatever, let's just go. But it's such a, you feel like your whole life depends on this one decision. You get to college, and then you feel like, oh, I need to get that perfect internship because my whole life will depend on that one decision. Then when you get those internships, then, oh, I need to nail the perfect first job because that's going to make or break my life. And really, when you talk to people who are really successful, maybe in their 30s, 40s, 50s, who are CEOs, vice presidents, CTOs, whatever, when you talk to them and ask them, how did you figure out that this is what you wanted to do? The answer is, I still have no clue what I want to do.
Right.
It's amazing, and a lot of the times it's not people's job titles aren't really representative of the work that they do, and it's always by uncovering the stories, the deeper stories, the motivations, and the reasoning why people got to a certain place and why they are doing what they're doing now, that you really understand their trajectory was something that they could mostly not have planned for. Obviously, you have exceptions, and obviously there's a lot of people who say, oh, I've always had a passion for medicine, or I really think that I wanted to be a lawyer, or I love teaching, and that's amazing, but for a lot of people, it's not as clear cut. So I would say really just doing a skills inventory. So there's a couple of different exercises that we go through in the curriculum as well. But basically, a really effective technique that I have found is to just sit there for 10 minutes and write down every single thing that you think you are good at, and then write down every single thing that other people have ever said that you are good at. So write down what you think you're good at, what other people have said you're good at. Then look at why. Why have they said this? Why do you feel this? And then look at a third category, and this is really important, and it's called what gives you energy. Why am I energized to do this? What about this activity makes me feel like empowered and makes me feel good about what I'm doing? So once you kind of get to do that, you can, and then I recommend doing this with a partner. So you do this in silence, and then you share your lists with your partner, and then they share their list with yours, and it's really interesting to feed back to each other and really articulate what you're hearing the other person say, because a lot of the times, because it's our lives, we're so close to it, we don't realize the nuances or the reasons behind why we do what we do. And so it's really good to have someone there to kind of help point us to see in the direction of seeing the similarities of what those are. And through that, hopefully you'd be able to develop a clearer sense of what you would want to maybe further explore and get an idea of maybe how. And internships and job shadowing and informational interviews are obviously a great way of designing or prototyping your life. There's a bunch of books on the subject as well, but just stopping to think of what do I really enjoy and why, and then trying to see if you can replicate those experiences and situations for yourself in the future is a good way of getting a better sense of that.
Wow, you are brilliant, by the way. I just want to put that out there because it's sort of something that I encounter a lot in interviews where someone's talking about a topic and I'm trying to relate to it, but the way that you're explaining, like, how you come up with your passion, maybe it's because that question's really relevant to me and understanding what I'm passionate about. Like, it's really energizing, and I feel it, and I think anyone who's watching will feel your passion and the energy. And I actually need to go back and do the exercise of what I think I'm good at, what other people say I'm good at, and what gives me energy, and so on and so forth.
I mean, I recommend if you're listening and you think, oh, that sounds cool, don't just say it sounds cool, actually go do it, because it's actually really powerful. And obviously taking action is super powerful, but this is something that can really stay with you for a long time. So
And another piece of what you were talking about in that response was that, like, when you ask a CEO or a founder or anyone, when I ask people through 108 Degrees of Impact why they do the work they do, there is a very wide range of responses. So I'm really fascinated by people on different ends of the spectrum, whether it's someone who had something occur, like they had a loss in the family occur, or they were diagnosed with a disease, or whatever it might be, or maybe it's someone who just kind of started to find over time that they were passionate about a certain subject and then stuck to that. And I love that you said that, because I think it's important for us and for me with what I'm doing to stress that there's not one perfect way to what you want to do. And so the exercise you gave, which I also encourage people to do, of course, is a good way for people to figure out what they want to do. Like, maybe they haven't had that moment where they randomly met someone in an elevator, or they had something bad happen to them. Instead, it might just be a matter of them taking the time to focus with a friend or with others to think through what they want to do.
And I just want to add there that once people reach a level of success, like conventional success in the world, and people ask them similar questions like, okay, tell us a little bit about yourself, or how did you decide to start this company, or whatever, you come up with a story. You come up with a compelling story to make sense of your journey, and it makes it sound easy. And a lot of the times there is a very personal impetus to that prompts you on your way. I just want to stress that there's so much reflection and so much refining and so much personal self-doubt and insecurity that goes into actually crafting that narrative, because what you hear at the end is the end product. This is the reason. You don't see the hours or the drafts of the speech, or whatever that goes into creating that. So if you're hearing your idols or people you consider as role models on TV, watching them speak, and they talk about that moment when they were 6 and they watched this person receive an award on TV, and they said, "Oh, that's going to be me." A 6-year-old, that 6-year-old Oprah Winfrey or whatever didn't know that was her goal. It was when she was 26 or 36 she realized that, oh, it started there.
Right.
So yeah, just putting that out there.
No, I think that's important. And you really mentioned this idea of your story. And one thing I want to get to, I guess, in one of my last questions of the interview, because this flew by and I feel like we could go on forever talking about social enterprise and the work that we're each doing. I'm curious, like, thinking about the impact that you want to have and where you see yourself and aspirate in a number of years. If your life were summed up in a book or documentary, what do you think that title would be and why? Or what would you want that title to be and why?
All right, Matt, you asked for it. So, in honor of 180 Degrees of Impact, the title to my life's documentary or book or some sort of summing up work would be 180 puzzle pieces of me. So, puzzle pieces for every part of my life, because there's a lot of different interacting bits. I'm probably okay. Let's be real. Probably not 180, but just an honor if you all put it in there.
I appreciate it. So, I mean, I think it's really self-explanatory just from what you were saying about your story along the way. There are so many pieces, and I actually relate to you a lot in that in college, especially, I was doing a million different things. Not to say that I was great at all of them, but I was trying, just put like an octopus, I guess, trying to grab onto all the opportunities I had, which I really don't regret. There's something to be said for focus, but sometimes there are 180 puzzle pieces. That's a really great title. That should be titled. I need to write a book with. We'll talk
Yeah.
after. We'll talk after, and we'll figure out exactly the rights to it. But you'll probably have to get a % of the book sales. But
I'm down for that. So I'm going to ask for you, but I would love that.
Just as we wrap up, I guess I'd love to know, where can people learn more about you, connect with you, and then also learn more and connect with Aspirate?
Definitely. So we have a website. It's www.aspirate.org, and that's ASPIR8.org, because we're kind of hip like that. Mm-hmm. And we have a Facebook page, Facebook.com/Aspirate. We have a Twitter and Instagram account that we are active on. It's Aspirate.org, so ASPIR8.org. But yeah, give us a shout out. We'd love to feature more stories of people doing impact, especially students and kids who are working towards interesting projects in your communities as well. And you can connect with me personally as well. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, and LinkedIn, of course. All the information for that is on our website as well. If you click on the About page, there's a brief bio and ways that you can email me directly and get in touch. We're also, I will put it out there, we're also planning the next couple of months. And so Aspirate, I'm happy to say, is going to be traveling. So we will be going to India in May in partnership with Teach for India, and we'll be taking the same program free of cost that we provided to kids here in Dubai, and impact hopefully at least 100 more low-income students there. And we're also open to going to any other schools or colleges, and even creative, non-traditional environments, corporate settings where we can further our mission, because it's all about bringing social innovation and social entrepreneurship education into the mainstream, whether that be with kids or whether that be with adults. We're really just trying to stop it being a niche kind of, oh, I've heard of that, I have no clue what that is, to really being, oh, okay, I understand what this is, and this is the new face of business moving forward. So yeah, we're taking referrals and would love to connect with any schools or universities wanting to bring the program to their cities.
I'm excited to see the journey that you go on, and I think I'm really even more excited to continue to see the interviews you do and continue to hear from you about the work that you're doing, because as you mentioned, ask for 8, you're hip, and hopefully that means that you'll keep everyone updated on social media with like the pictures and videos and all sorts of stuff. But if anyone wants to learn more about 180 Degrees of Impact, which I always say, I'm assuming you already know about it, but I have to mention this at the end, please visit www, of course, .lets.care. Or at Let's You Care on the different social media platforms. And if you want to get in touch by email, I am available at hello@lets.care. And so that's all I have to share for now. I'm excited that you can be part of within the first 50 people I feature. I believe that you're number 49 off the top of my head. So distinguished honor. And I really appreciate you really being part of this and sharing all that you had to. But take care. Have a thanks again for joining.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you once again. And I'm excited to see the other stories that come afterwards as well.
Awesome. And for anyone else who's watching, until next time, keep impacting.